Hello, I'm Blair and welcome back to Cellar Notes. Today we're going to talk about some blush wines. Back in the 70s and 80s, the popularity of blush wines was very apparent. The beginning of the blush wines in the United States took off with the white Zinfandels. They were a sweet, light-bodied wine that were very easy drinkable. Today we're going to talk with Mr. Bob Nichols of Forest Glen Family of Wines, and we're going to talk about the new trend in blush wines, the rosés. They're drier, they have more meat to them, they've got more acidity, they pair well with food. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Blair. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about the new rosés and the trend that's become apparent in the last few years in the United States?
Well, Blair, what's happened in the last 2 to 3 years, rosé wine sales in the United States have grown at a rate of over 50%. And the style of the new rosés, you're seeing new grape varieties. Years ago, rosés are not new to the United States. Years ago, 25 years ago, when I started selling wine, Grenache rosés were very popular, a little bit sweeter style. Now the new varietals that they've brought into the mix, Carignan, Syrah primarily has been the biggest driving force in the rosé category, with a little bit of blending of Viognier for spice. But you're really seeing a whole different, more acidity, more flavor, more mouthfeel. Just a whole new evolution of wine style. Residual sugars are down. When you talk about white Zinfandel, you're talking about residual sugar of 3.0. Rosés, you're talking about residual sugar of right around 1 to 1.1. So you're seeing a drier, you're seeing a more flavorful because of the Syrah flavor, or a Carignan or Viognier. So you're really seeing a tremendous evolution of a great food wine, drier, but very flavorful, very good fruit flavor, berry flavor. So it's really a great food wine.
Speaking of a great food wine, the Syrahs have been very popular as a blush grape in areas in Europe, such as France, and have been for centuries. And they do pair very well with food because of the bold acidity and the unique dryness. What kind of foods would you recommend pairing with a rosé style wine?
Great question. With the onset of summer, hopefully coming to Minnesota soon, you'll see that barbecue wines. I would look at when you're barbecuing on the grill, things like sirloin or pork or even grilled vegetables. These wines really are going to pair very well because of the acidity and the fruit flavor to a lot of grilled wines. And I think especially pork, I think grilled chicken would be a great example. But grilled vegetables is a great example because these wines are soft. And they're not real huge tannic wines. So I really think that those types of foods and grilled foods are going to be great with rosés. I really feel it's a great match.
And the rosés are not, as you said, overly sweet. They tend to be even on the drier side. So when you're on the deck and it's a hot, Minnesota day, they're great for sipping in the sun without, too much sweetness to make your, queasy or anything. It's just a great summertime, spring kind of wine that pairs well with all kinds of outdoor foods. And as you were mentioning, anywhere from chicken and pork all the way to maybe even a grilled sirloin.
Absolutely. Because of the dryness, it's a great transition. People still drink a lot of white Zinfandel. Let's face it, white Zin is still a huge varietal. What this gives is the person that is drinking maybe Chardonnay or Pinot Grigio, looking for another alternative. To me, it's a great stepping stone to get people to drink more and more wine. And when we get people stepping from white Zin, getting into Pinot Grigio and testing rosés, we know the next step is Cabernet, Bordeaux, Italian wines, French wines. So these wines serve as a great stepping stone, and they're fun wines to drink. And the flavor is really, when you look at the color and the flavor and the aroma, because let's face it, if the wines don't really look nice and taste nice, really people aren't going to keep buying them. And we're really very comfortable with the quality of all the rosés that are coming into the United States.
Speaking of the look of the wines and the color and the appearance, let's move on to kind of a marketing strategy. As you were saying, in the past few years, the sales have just been skyrocketing. What kind of marketing things are companies doing to bring rosés to the attention of the American public?
Well, obviously, the first choice would be to talk about the style of the wine. It's off dry. It's not your white Zinfandel, yet it's not your Cabernet or your Chardonnay. It really is a flavor profile that really we want to grab people into trying it and knowing that they'll be comfortable with the taste. And secondly, it's more of a fun. It's not a real pink wine. It really is. When you look at, if you break down these wines, you will see that they do look rosé-ish. They do not look pink like white Zinfandel. And the color looks good, and obviously the sweetness is there, but yet it's not really there. And I really think that it's a fun, it's a great flavor profile, it's a great food wine, and we always want to really get people to think that food and wine are basically a great marriage.
Yes, exactly. And as you were saying, you know, it's not sweet, it's more fruity. And it's friendly to the palate, it's easy to drink, great for summertime. We were talking about the color of the wine and how it's more rosé, not pink, but more rosé, a little deeper in color. How does the color actually get to the wine when you're using a Syrah grape or a Carignan or something like that that's a red grape? How do they come up with a blush or rosé color?
Well, it's a process called maceration. When the grapes are put into the hopper, before they are crushed, or during crushing, they remove a lot of the stems and the junk, let's say, which give actually the flavor of the wine. The tannins come from the skins as well as the color. So what happens during maceration is they gradually remove the skins, and as the skins are removed, the color becomes, from a red grape, more pink. And they work on the color. Believe me, they really don't just decide, well, we got to take 50% of the skins or 80%. It really becomes a winemaker's decision of how much skin he wants to remove, because obviously the less skin, the less red and less tannin. So there's a balance of tannin and color that come from the skin. So basically it's a winemaker decision. They're trying to achieve really a maximum of tannin to skin. So really the color comes out the way the winemaker likes it, based on how much tannin too, because you want to make these wines less tannic and more flavorful. So that's really, it's a winemaker's decision, but that is actually during the maceration process where the removing of the skins, the color becomes more pink.
And as you were saying, it's a winemaker's decision, but he's trying to get the best of the best. So he's trying to optimize the tannins without going too far. He's trying to optimize the color without going too far or too short at the same time.
Right.
And as you can see with some of our examples here, some of the wines are much deeper in color than some of the other wines, even if they're using the same grape, and that's completely a winemaker's decision.
Absolutely, it's the maceration process. It's how much of the skins stay intact versus how much they let go.
Well, thanks for being with us today, Bob. I really appreciate it. I think we've given some good examples of the new rosé trends and the wonderful wines that are available from this country, especially California, Washington, and of course from around the world. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Blair. It was my pleasure.